If you want to learn how to make professional looking thumbnails with software that's not going to cost you a penny, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end. Hi, and welcome to Creative Fundamentals. My name is Dan Courier, and I'm here to help you build a foundation for YouTube success. Today we're going to be talking thumbnails, and I'm going to show you how to use a free program to create professional looking thumbnails. Let's get started. Hey, don't forget to click that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss a thing. All right, so the program I want to show you today is called Gimp. I'll put a download link in the description of this video. It is completely free and it has a lot of Photoshop type features. So I'm going to show you how to create a thumbnail using Gimp. And what I'll also do is I'll put a link in the description that you can sign up, and I will send you the template that I'm working with, so you can just open it up in Gimp and you won't have to worry about setting your dimensions on your image. Let's get started. All right, so we want to create a new thumbnail. The first thing we need to do is create a new image, and we want that image to be 1920 by 1080 pixels. So we click OK. That creates our workspace, and I'm just going to use the fill tool here and fill this in with gray to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. So, all right, so what we're going to do is incorporate a couple different elements. I want to show you guys how to include text. I want to show you how to pull in other images and kind of layer them to create a more professional look. And I want to show you how to take an image and remove the background and use it in the thumbnail that you're creating. All right, so let's pull in our first element here. We're going to go down to Open, and we are going to pull in an image of me. For some reason, every once in a while, images taken by my phone show up as upside down, and it does this whole convert process. But in any case, you just click OK and it brings up the image. This is a picture that I took against my green screen, but I don't want my green screen in the background. I actually want to just pull me out of this image. Now there is a tool, there is like a smart select tool that tries to determine a collection or an area of likeness, but with all the color variations in this image, as you can see, it doesn't really do a good job of selecting anything that's all that useful. It actually does an interesting job of showing you where your hotspots are in your green screen, but that's a different story. What we want to do, you hit Control A, and that brings the select back to the entire image. What we're actually going to do with this, we're going to use this little free select tool, and it gives you the little lasso, and we're actually just going to start clicking around the edges of the image. And I'm going to do this kind of fast just for illustrating purposes, but what you want to do is try to do this as careful as possible. And what you can do as you're in the middle of it, if you hold down Control and you use your scroll key, you can actually scroll in and work with a little bit more detail. As you start to get to the top of it, you can hold down the scroll and scroll out, and that just allows you to get a little more detailed while you're doing it. But again, I'm just going to do this quick to show you guys how it's done, and you can spend a little more time kind of perfecting it and making sure that you don't pull in any green with it. If you do happen to pull in some green, there's another trick to get rid of that and try to clean it up, and maybe I can show that to you as well. But in the interest of time, I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible, very rough like, and get it to a point where I can show you the finished product. And basically you're going to create a complete loop with this. So we get down to the bottom here, I'm going to shoot across to where it started, and it'll highlight on the bottom. It says click to complete selection. You do that, and it highlights the area that I just roped with that tool. So what you can do is you can go down to copy, edit copy, and then you can go paste as new image, and this is what it gives you. Now when you're on an image, it shows you in the layer section over here the layers for the image that's in the active window. So what you can actually do here is you bring this one up, we still have our thumb in the background, If you click on the layer for this image and you drop it on that background thumb, you'll see that it drops that layer onto the thumbnail project that we're doing. So what we can actually do from here, since we have the layer highlighted, we'll make sure it's highlighted, we can go layer, scale layer, and I'll switch this to percent, and maybe I'll drop this down maybe to like 70% of its original size. All right, and probably want that whole thing on the screen, so I may scale that down a little bit more from where it is now. We'll call that 80% of its regular size. All right, so that's not bad. Oops. And that's something I actually do all the time. If you do that, just complete it and then hit Control A to get rid of it. When you're on the wrong tool, you know, you think you're trying to drag it, and then you end up with that guy, and then you're running all over the place trying to get it to finish. But what you usually do is just click on it and get it to create a section, and then you can hit Control A. In this case, if you really can't get rid of it, which is a pain in the butt sometimes, just go over there and change the tools and it's gone. But it can be a little frustrating sometimes. But this is the image that we've created. I'm going to throw this down in the lower left-hand corner of our thumbnail. And what are we pointing to? Well, given the topic of this, let's go in and we'll select another image. And let's see. How about this? This seems... So you can see we have this really big thumbnail image here. We're going to have to scale down. But as you see, because I selected this, it's over here. So we'll grab this and we'll drag it on to the thumbnail one that we care about. And the same thing. We'll go to Layer, Scale. I'll do that down to at least 50% of its size because that's pretty massive. And then we'll kind of put it right here. Now we don't want it to cover up my thumb. So if we come up here and this pasted layer here, that's me. So I can actually right click on this and go down to Edit Layer Attributes, and I can call it Pic of Me, so I know what it actually is that I'm dealing with. And then this is our YouTube subscribe button, and because I want this behind my finger, if I click on the layer that I'm on and I drag it above it, you'll see that puts my finger on top of it. Okay. And now what are we subscribing to? Well, let's throw another element in here. We'll go into Open. Let's see. Do we have anything that's appropriate? Oh, look at that. We just happen to have a Creator Fundamentals logo to throw on there. What are the odds? All right, and that is huge. So we definitely want to pare that down a bit. And we'll even throw that down. Let's call that one 30% because that's a big one. All right, so look at that. We have our Creator Fundamentals, and I'd probably go just a tad bit smaller on that. Let me call it like 80% of its regular or current size. That's pretty nice. We can throw that up there somewhere. And subscribe. And what we can do, we want to add some text down here. We select our text tool. The text tool in Gimp is a little bit quirky in my opinion. When you click to add text, it always seems to default to sans 18. I don't know if there's a setting somewhere where you can change the default, but that's how it's always worked for me, and I haven't really dug that deep into changing it. But it creates these four little boxes. If you click in the lower right-hand corner, you can kind of expand your text box. And then what I'll normally do is I will start typing my message. And then after I've typed a little bit, I'll highlight it. The other thing that's weird is it doesn't have a drop down for the text, so it's kind of like a type ahead. Typically what I'll do is I'll type the first letter of what I'm looking for, because it's also a little quirky in the sense every once in a while if you keep typing, even though you're typing all the letters in a given font name, it drops them out of the list. So I usually just start with the first letter. In this case I want my Berlin Sans, and I can make that bigger, not quite that much bigger. And it also, the text color defaults to the foreground text in your menu over here. So in this case it's gray, which is why it's not showing up as anything. So I'll go in here and I'll change it to, I'll go into here and change it to black. And then we can actually see our text. And I do want to expand this box a little bit so it has room. And then I can actually complete my thought. And again, we can just expand that a little bit if we run out of room. Build a foundation for YouTube success. What a great idea. All right, so one of the other things you can do to this text to kind of make it pop a little bit, one of the things that I like to do, is this little trick with the grow tool. So once you have your text there, if you go over to the toolbar here and you right click on the text layer and go down to layer to image size, it expands the layer that the text is on to the entire image. And this becomes important when we go over and we select, well, before we select the grow tool, we want to right click on that same layer and go down to alpha to selection, and it'll put a highlight or a selection around all the letters. And now we are going to use the grow tool, select grow, and it pops up this box here, and we want to grow our selection by 10 pixels. And what that's going to do is it's going to expand that selection area 10 pixels out from the text, which is going to create kind of a border around all the text. And then maybe we will select white as a color to highlight or to surround that black text with. So we set our foreground to white. We click on our fill thing. What you can do is you can hold your control down and scroll in so you make sure you get a good shot here when you're dropping in the color. And then I'll go in and oops. And if you happen to do this, you can hit Control Z and go back. I do that all the time. And then you can just click and fill in all your holes here, because that's kind of how you want it to look. If the inside of a letter is big enough for it to fit the highlight, it will leave a void in the middle and you'll be able to fill that in with white as well. But because the expansion takes up that whole space, it doesn't highlight it. And that just creates, so if you do that, you hit Control A to get the highlight to the outside border. I think it just creates a much sharper looking font and makes it look a little more professional. That's how I did this logo in Gimp, and I just think it adds a little touch of polish that kind of makes your images stand out. So that's just an example thumbnail. Obviously, this maybe you wouldn't use quite this composition for a thumbnail, but I just wanted to show you how you use some of these different features and how you're able to overlay them with each other. Now, the one other thing that I do in Gimp and how I actually create my personal thumbnails is I created a thumbnail frame in Gimp. So we'll look at that, and I will go into open, and I'm actually going to grab a thumbnail frame that I created and open that, and that's going to pop up over here. And what I can do, same approach, you highlight this as your active window, and then you go over to the layer and you drag it over, and you can see that I've already created it for the perfect size. In this case, we do want to do a little bit of tweaking so we don't have our other stuff hidden by the frame. So I'll actually take this and, just for the sake, oops, still got to make sure you're on the right layer. So in this case, I'm trying to affect the Creator Fundamentals logo. When you click on that, you'll see it's highlighted. That's what I actually want to resize. And we will go down to Scale Layer. We'll drop it down to 50% just to show you what that's like and get that out of the way. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll throw that over here. So, and then again, this lovely picture of me is hidden, so maybe we can even bring me out a little bit, and maybe we'll even drop down the YouTube thing down to, I don't know, let's call it 70%, or that's not 70% of its original size. And then, kind of mess with everything else to get it all squared away here. Maybe we want to throw this on top like that. And again, because we made this the same size as the image, what I'll usually do when I'm done with these things, well, for one, when you have that highlighted, Control A is always your friend, because sometimes you're staring at these highlights and they're driving you crazy. Control A expands your highlight out until the outside of the layer. In this case, because I moved this, you can see that the outside layer is off of the entire image. And we can right click on that and go layer to image size, and that gets everything squared away. So that's an example of how to create a thumbnail using Gimp. Then once you have done this, you can actually come down here to go to File. You go to Save As to save the actual Gimp file so you can go back into it later and use it. And then you come down to Export, and then you can actually export your thumbnail as a PNG file. And then when you're oops, you actually have to put a period in there because then it doesn't work. All right, so do that, and then it tells you, or asks you how you want to export it. I usually just leave all the defaults and click export, and then you save it. So then when you go to create your video on YouTube, you go into custom thumbnail, and then you upload that image, and you have that your own thumbnail. If you're interested in learning how I actually created the thumbnail frame that I use, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be sure to include that process in a future video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was helpful to you. Please leave your comments below. Let me know what you liked or didn't like and how we might be able to improve it going forward. Maybe you should take the advice of this thumbnail and click that subscribe button if you would like for me to help you build a foundation for YouTube success. That is all for now. I appreciate you watching this video. My name is Dan Courier, and you're watching Creator Fundamentals. Thank you.